Moving on, the Lending Tree Bowl. Rice playing a familiar opponent, Southern Miss, Saturday, December 17th at 4:45 p.m. You can watch it on ESPN. Southern Miss coming in as 7-point favorites. The over-under is set at 46.5. Well, like I just said, I would say this is good news for Rice because this is a familiar opponent. Southern Miss was in Conference USA in previous years, but just up until this year, they have joined the Sun Belt. Rice, of course, still in Conference USA, moving up to the American next year. I'm optimistic for this Rice team.
I am too.
And I'll tell you why. We saw the emergence of a new quarterback in Rice's game against North Texas, A.J. Padgett.
Yes.
He looked really, really good. He had, I think, almost 300 yards of offense, one touchdown, only one interception in that game. But I guess I can mention this too. I think that those turnovers, they're going to have to be limited because we know that Rice is susceptible to making turnovers. But with A.J. Padgett at the helm, I think this is really, really good news for Rice. I think that, I don't know what the standard is or the status is on other quarterbacks for Rice, because this is like their third or fourth starting quarterback.
I believe it's fourth.
Yeah, I believe
it's nuts.
Yeah, so this is a true freshman starting at quarterback, and like I said, he looked really, really good against North Texas. So I think there's some good news coming here if we see A.J. Padgett starting under center for Rice.
I think I agree with that. I think what we've learned about Rice this year is if they can get on the front foot and take care of the ball, they can compete with most teams in Conference USA, right? And so obviously Southern Miss went to the Sun Belt this year, but they're obviously a step better than they were last year, where they were just kind of hobbling together a roster, right? They were throwing Frank Gore Jr. at running back, things like that, or quarterback, I should say. Now Frank Gore Jr. is allowed to be a running back, and he's been really good for them on the ground. Outside of him, though, they really have not had much offensively, right? Southern Miss is a team that's remained in games defensively, and I feel like that plays into a little bit with Rice because they know they're not facing an offense that they're going to have to keep up with necessarily. And as we saw with North Texas at times last week and in multiple games, if Rice can stick around, they're in it, right? Their job is not turning the ball over, we mentioned, which is why Padgett did so well for them last week, and why quarterback has been an issue for them, right? Is that they've turned the ball over, thrown interceptions, things like that. And so this is a team that's they're not going to come out and be explosive, Southern Miss. And Rice can hit that over the top pass, right? They can hit that play action. They can they have receivers that can make or break one thing here and there. And I think that plays into their hand a lot. I still struggle because Rice has still been a team that found a way to turn the ball over when they needed to hold on to it. So I have trouble maybe picking them outright, but I do feel that the way Southern Miss plays and the way they've been good has been similar to how Rice has played, which is not turning the ball over, playing sound defense, playing physical football. So I feel like this is going to be a low, like 14-10 type game, honestly.
The over-under is at 46.5, so it's going to be a very low-scoring game.
Right, and so, I don't know, but I do like this matchup for Rice. Let's put it that way.
I do too. I think the thing that worries me that we've seen with Rice all season is that they turn over the ball in the most unfortunate situations. I mean, they'll turn it over on their own, in their own territory, which gives the defense obviously a huge advantage there.
They have 20 touchdowns and 19 picks as a team.
Yes. I'm worried that Rice's defense is not going to be able to stop Southern Miss from scoring, especially if they can take advantage of those turnovers.
Sure.
They have struggled defensively this year. I think their secondary is getting to a point where they're recognizably good.
100%.
But I think the defense as a whole has struggled quite a bit this year, and I don't think that they can stop a Southern Miss team that can score in a couple of different ways.
Right. No, I agree with that, basically. I think it's similar. It's not this exact same as UTEP last year where they had the receivers on the outside. They can make a big play and kind of bail them out. But Rice has been kind of more bailed out at times by guys like, I'm trying to find it, Bradley Rosner, wide receiver, right? He's been their big play guy for him. Luke McCaffrey as well has really shifted over to wide receiver more or less seamlessly. And, those guys have kind of made big plays on their own. And so it's bailed out the offense maybe sometimes where it's maybe getting a little stagnant. And so I'm wondering, I feel like there's a little bit too much reliance on that. But regardless, what we've seen from this coaching staff this year is the ability to game plan for what their team is best at, right?
Right.
And if, again, it's going to come down, you can look at this box score and you can look at Padgett or McMahon or whoever lines up at behind center and see if they have 2 or more picks, right?
They're losing the game.
They're losing the game,
Yes.
right? They can't most teams can't overcome that regardless, but we know that they don't have the firepower if you're handing away points to the opposing team, that they don't have the firepower to come back.
Right. Well, regardless of what happens, I mean, we can talk a little bit about Rice's season as a whole. I
Sure,
mean,
yeah.
We picked them to win 3 games, 4 games this season.
Something like that, yeah.
They got to 5. They're 5-7, and of course, there were not enough bowl games. There were not enough 6-win teams to fill up every single bowl game. So Rice, being as smart as they are as a team in total, their
APR,
GPA,
baby.
yes, they are getting the chance to play for a bowl title. I think they shocked a lot of people this season.
Oh, they did.
And not only did they make it to 5 wins, if you look at their schedule, they hung with a lot of teams that they shouldn't have. North Texas, they should not have hung in with them as well as they did.
Especially for what North Texas was playing for, no.
Right, absolutely. So this team, it's a program on the rise. I think you can look at this and say, Mike Bloomgren over there has something special, and they're only going to keep climbing when they move to the American.
They lost by a touchdown to Houston at Houston. They lost by a field goal to FAU, and then you mentioned they lost by 4 to North Texas. Like we talked about all season long as they were losing some of these games, saying this is an improved team, right? Yes. But we were also like, I don't know if they get to a bowl, right? It's a nice validation to see that this team is actually improved.
Yes.
And so if literally they can work out the quarterback position, work out the turnovers, who knows where this team can go? And if you go into the AAC, of course it's going to be a step up in competition, but I feel more comfortable after this year with Mike Bloomgren at the helm of that, right?
You're absolutely right. So with that being said, who are you going with, Rice or Southern Miss?
I'm going to go with Southern Miss.
Yeah,
it's just been way too much of a concern the last couple weeks with how Rice has lost those games. North Texas was withstanding. That was a really good performance from them. But we expected them to put a lot better of a showing against the Western Kentuckys and UTSAs, and they got smoked. Right. So I don't think it'll be that. I think it'll be a close loss, but give me Southern Miss.
And then on the other side of that, Southern Miss, didn't they upset Tulane this year?
I
believe they beat Tulane, so they have proven that they can beat way above level competition teams.
Yeah,
you know,
they did
now
27-24.
Right, I'm not saying that Rice is that above in competition, but I'm just saying that they know how to win in big time situations. So yeah, give me Southern Miss in that.
Yeah.